so good. Oh my, gonna make my move. I'm all in, got nothing to lose. Oh my, gonna shake it off. It ain't no thing, it ain't no thing. Oh my, doing what I want. Gonna do my thing, do my thing. Put it up high and take it low. I'm feeling right from head to toe. Light it up and let it roll. Here I go. Are you ready? Ready to go?
Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, my favorite day of the week. So, with that being said, it is Tuesday, but it is October 1st. So we're just going to take a little moment of silence to remember what happened here just 2 short years ago. So, go. All right. So take out your phones. Who's going to be in my selfie? Come on, somebody. Or I'm doing it alone.
Jesse.
All right, everybody, away!
Make him dance. Make him dance.
All right. So simplest. Is Daniel here? Daniel? All right, so let's talk real quick. So the Pathway to Mastery is starting tomorrow. If you haven't signed up, you can sign up, but you got to do it quick. So if you want to be part of Pathway to Mastery, I think we have 10 in the group so far, so it'll be a really good group. So let me know today if you want to sign up for Pathway. Last week we had a party, and I just want to, there's a reason for this.
Oh, okay.
So I just want to thank each and every one of you who came, everyone who helped, this office grow in this past year. And again, so thank you so much. See, there's a reason. All right, important date. So Buffini starts, as I said, tomorrow. YPN Trivia Night is 5 o'clock on Thursday at Sierra Gold. If you're not signed up, doesn't matter. Come anyway. It's a lot of fun. And then, what's that? Coffee with Mark every Friday, right here. So then our picnic, and there'll be more said about that later. You're going to talk about that, right, Bona?
I wasn't going to.
You are now. All right, Business Generation Mastermind here every Monday at 9. Mini Mastermind in Green Valley, 10 o'clock on Mondays as well. And then the Making Strides Breast Cancer Walk, 7 o'clock on October 27th at the Red Rock Casino. And trunk or treat.
Mark, Thursday I have a financial planner that works with private financial that does a lot of education for 401ks, all that type of thing to educate you guys. If you want to come to that, it's a lunch and learn at the Green Valley office at 11:30.
And she'll put a notice in the Facebook group, right?
Yeah, I actually already did.
All right, cool. Simplest. They're not here. So.
That's not good.
All right, mortgage moment with Citywide.
Ooh, and I know music. Yeah. Happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy Tuesday.
Oh, you can still
Happy
do it. It's fine. I'm gonna dance right now. Just
Go, Shelly, dance.
how's everyone doing? Okay, I'm gonna get us a list. Let me see if I can do this really quick. Turn to the person next to you and say, "You're amazing." Sorry. Okay, we're going to talk about condos today. How many of you remember the conversation about condos a month ago? One person? Thank you, Swenar. Awesome. Ellie, you too? Perfect. Okay, so we pulled some numbers thanks to the Vandana listing, what would we call you? Vandana data report person.
My mom calls me Vandy.
Vandana. Okay, so the information came from V. Vandana. So 11,721 listings last year. How many of those were closed as FHA condos?
0.
No. I got a gift card. Who's going to participate?
2,300.
300? Really?
No, okay, I got that, no. Really? Really?
No, lower.
400?
Lower. FHA, how many closed last year of those 11,000 FHA condos?
176.
Lower. Lower, Lisa. How many?
18.
The number is 9. What the heck? 9. So we don't have one. Either. You had 1 without going over. Why do you guys think that is? Why only 9?
They're too lazy to get reapproved.
Lazy, yes. So they're actually from last month, we have now 118 approved FHA condominiums. I did some other research courtesy of the Vondana data portal. So in Summerlin, there's a condo called Garden Terrace. Have you heard of that condo? Yeah, 270,000 to 330. That is an approved condominium project, FHA approved today. In Summerlin, how many of you have buyers that are in that price point that would love to buy a home in Summerlin, but today may not be able to reach that goal because there are no single family residences in that price point? I pulled up Henderson. Who likes to sell in Henderson? Have you heard of Resort Villas? Sales price, when I pulled it up, there are 3 available at $250,000. This is an FHA approved condo. What that means to you is that all you have to do is really have an FHA buyer. No condo cert is required. That's it. So it's a little bit cheaper as far as the cost if you're going to go FHA as opposed to conventional financing. But come October 15th, they are going to roll out what we call the SUA. Can you guys say that with me? SUA. Okay, that stands for SUA, which is single unit approval. Back in the days when I first started out, when I was 10, we actually did single loan approvals for FHA financing. What that allowed us to do is very similar to what we do for conventional financing today. It will get our FHA buyers who, for FHA financing, the max sales price, if you do your 3.5% down, is going to be $333,000. That is going to allow you to do a single loan inside of a project that is not today FHA approved. So remember, we have 118 that are FHA approved buyers. We need to increase the number from 9 to get it up there, right? This is going to be one way. Check your condo list. All of our lenders today have this in PDF form. So if you have any questions, get with myself, Myra, George, Bev, Tony, Gabby, and they can share this information to you. It is ever changing, so just know that tomorrow it might be different, but as of right now it's 118. As well as come October 15th, we're going to have the ability to do single unit approvals. And what I'm being told is there is going to be a requirement for an FHA condo cert. We have that today. The biggest things that they're going to be looking at is 10% concentration of FHA financing. But because this has not rolled out yet, really in these conventional condo approved projects, there's probably a limited number of loans that are done as FHA today. So I think you're going to have some ability to get those loans approved within that. Also, owner occupancy ratio, they're going to come out and tell us what that should be, and it's at least 51% or 50% they want to have owner occupancy. And then second to that is going to be litigations, which if you can get an FHA or a conventional loan approved today, which if you haven't checked out condo approvals for conventional, we do those as well, and we can take those up to 3% financing. But for those buyers who are FHA approved, this is going to be an alternative for them to get condo financing. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. Again, our lenders, our loan officers, myself, Myra, Gabby, Beverly, Tony, George, we have the FHA condo approval list that's here, and then can give you more information as far, we have marketing collateral as well, as far as the FHA SUA, single unit approval. So if you need anything, we're here to help you out. Do you have any questions for me at all right now? Yes, ma'am.
So Brandon and Janet, Anna, and myself, we've all been to Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And we have met with all our congresspeople and our senators. And we have asked them repeatedly to lower the stipulations for FHA so that we can put more condo projects on the market.
That's awesome. So this would be one of those effects of it, right? In doing that. Let's give it up for Mark, Brandon, Janet, Vandana, who's going to Washington. Perfect. Any other questions for me? So can we take a poll in like a quarter and see if that number goes up from 9 units to maybe 20 units? End of the year? Perfect. If you guys need anything, you know we're here to help you.
I don't know what it is about that music. It just gets me hyped. Anybody else? Where's Mary? On vacation? Huh? All right. So my announcement is regarding, apparently I'm going to be talking about the annual picnic. That's really Janet's thing, Janet's baby. But are you speaking today?
No.
Okay. Would you like to speak?
Oh, yes,
Come here, Janet. Come talk about your annual picnic really quickly.
Gee, I appreciate it. This is what happens when you miss the 8:45 manager's call on Monday morning because you're in another meeting at GLVAR. So, our picnic is Friday. It's at Hills Park in Summerlin, the same place it's been every year since we started having it, our first year in existence. It's a family picnic. It's fully catered, barbecue type food. Kids are welcome. Citywide's doing the drinks for us. Now let me just say this. No alcohol is allowed at the Hills Park. Now, if you've ever been an underage drinker, you know about that. So, I just want to say Friday, 4 o'clock, but please RSVP because if you go, I'll just show up. We may not have enough food for you. Same people that catered it last year, food was fabulous. Starts at 4. We have a 4-hour limit. We have to be out of the park by 8. So, thank you. Oh, one more quick thing. For those of you who are of a certain age, Medicare, I guess, has made a lot of changes. And tomorrow night at the Sun City office at 5:30, they're going to have wine and cheese and someone talking about all the changes in Medicare, if you're interested.
Thank you, Janet, for the update. All I heard was bring bottles that aren't clear. Anybody else? I love like the late bloomers are getting it. So, first annual trunk or treat. This is a client appreciation event, you guys. So I've got a couple of people that are helping me with putting this together. There will be prizes for dressing up your trunks. Don't forget, Mark's doing his front and his back trunk, so you've got to compete with 2 of his trunks, not just one.
You're on, Mark. I got a lot of trunks.
I know. So we need sign-ups. So what that's going to entail is that you actually do, you set up your trunk the way that you want it, get it decorated. There's going to, no, you better stand up, my friend.
I'm getting lazy.
What was happening there?
Look at you. Hold on, let me get in there. A little zoomer. Good. You got the bow.
I love the great. Oh, you get to decorate your trunks the way that you want. There will be a competition for the best trunks. There will be a first prize, a second prize, and a third prize. We will also have a costume contest at that time. Those people that are going to be parking their trunks or their cars with their trunks that are decorated, it'll be right here in this office, well, not inside, but outside in the parking lot. We have about 20-ish spots. Please sign up with Aaliyah. That's going to be primary. By the end of the week, you will get a flyer to send out to your clients as well as the community. Because we want this to be a big event, something that Signature puts on for you guys. Are there any questions regarding the trunk or treat?
Wait, when is it? How many cars?
30th.
20 plus. It's going to be the 30th of October.
What are you raffling off?
Oh, there's going to be Golden Knights tickets. They're going to be raffling off. I know. I haven't decided how we're going to be doing that, but we've got 2 sets of 2 to raffle off. Okay? So if that doesn't encourage you to sign up, I don't know what does. I'll be there. Will that help?
Yes.
And I'm out.
Thank you, Vandana.
All right, we're here.
Hello, everyone.
So everybody, this is Andrew from SkySlope.
Good to meet you.
outcomes for today, there's really three that we're after. The first is you're going to know where and how to get support. That's super important, and we'll talk a bit about that. Second outcome is you are going to be confident using SkySlope to manage your files. And third, be excited about how much time you're going to save using this system. So those are our goals for today, and if nothing else, that's what we're going to accomplish. Jumping in, my name is Andrew Dodds, and I am an Enterprise Customer Success Manager here at SkySlope and your trainer today. I've got a few fun facts about myself up here on the screen so that you can get to know me, and there you have it. I was in the Navy, I like to sail, and I was born and raised in San Francisco. Let's talk quickly about support. This is something that we pride ourselves on here at SkySlope. There's three ways to get a hold of the support team, but before we talk about that, I just want to talk about sort of how it's set up. So they are located here in our Sacramento office. They're available 24/7, 365. You know, they're on site here at the headquarters from where I'm talking to you from today, and that's super important to us. And there's three ways to get a hold of them. You can give them a call, you can chat in, or you can email. We have guarantees around those because we realize that being an agent, working at a brokerage, you know, it's not the typical 9 to 5. It goes beyond that, and so we want to be here for you. So they pick up on the second ring, they'll have a chat back to you within 10 seconds, and an email back to you within 20 minutes. If for some reason they don't meet these guarantees, you get a free Starbucks gift card on us. And truth be told, it's not really about the Starbucks gift card. We want you to feel supported in this process and not struggling through things. So if you're coming up against things that aren't making sense, feel free to get a hold of the support team. And we'll talk about where you do that here in just a moment. I want to talk about where we came from and what this is all about. This is a story about Tyler Smith. He's our CEO and founder. He was a top producing realtor out here in Sacramento, selling over 200 homes a year, and realized he needed to go paperless because of how quickly he was moving, the amount of paperwork that was caused as a result of the high volume of transactions. And so he started creating SkySlope for himself. Quickly realized he was onto something and decided to release it to the community. Just know this entire thing created by an agent for agents. So it's got agents in mind here, and that's true to this day. So as far as how you'll be using the system itself, there are two simple steps. The first is to get your forms signed. And the second is to turn in those documents, turn in that file, okay? And that's all that you have to do to make sure that you're going to be paid on time and you have a compliant file, okay? So there's a lot of other tips and tricks that we'll look at as we go through the training today, but at its very most simplistic level, those are the two steps, and we're going to focus on those today, okay? So I'm going to switch over now to the platform itself, and we're going to take a look at the demo account. So just so you know, I'm going to come to the home page here. When you log in and you have access, yours is going to look different than this. It's going to have the brokerage logo and color and feel, okay? So it's going to be, you know, more branded towards what you're used to. But this is our demo account, and the first area that I like to point out is the logo up here in the top left-hand corner. The reason I like to point it out is no matter where you end up in the system, if you need to get back to the home page, which is this, just click that button and you'll be right back to where you're familiar, okay? So no matter where you are, you can get back here just by clicking that logo. The other area we talked about support a moment ago, I want to show you this and how you get to it. So the support page, there's a gal here with the headset. You're going to click on that, and it's going to take you to the support page. You can chat directly from here, start a call, send an email. And there's also another really great area that a lot of our agents love. And these are the tutorials. So if you're like me and 20 minutes after you finish a training, you go on to try to do your job and you forget half of what was talked about, you can come here to the browse articles. And it has a video, a step-by-step guide for just about everything that you need to know within the system. So maybe it was something like how to upload documents as an example. You'll see the step-by-step guide with these little videos along the way that can help walk you through that. Okay, so this is available. One other area that I want to talk about, because customer feedback is so very important to us. We wouldn't still be here if we hadn't listened up to this point, and so that is a big focus area for us, is this got a suggestion. This is a place where you can post feature suggestions or ideas, and our CEO, Tyler, looks at them individually, and it also starts a conversation with the product development team. So your ideas can and feature suggestions can be heard from here, okay? That covers it as far as the support portal. I'm gonna click back over to the home screen here, and it's time to learn how you will be using SkySlope on a daily basis, okay? So we're gonna get started with step 1 of 2, which, as you remember, is getting forms signed, okay? I'm sure some of you or most of you have used digital signature tools in the past in one form or another, maybe like a DocuSign or something like that. You have the ability to do this with our tool called DigiSign, okay? And I'll talk more about that in a moment, but no matter what forms product you're using, right, whether that's zip forms, transaction desk, whatever it happens to be, you're going to use that tool in the same way, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to log in to your forms tool, and once your forms are completed, you're simply going to download it to your computer, okay? Then that's where this is going to come in, DigiSign. So you're going to now have that file downloaded on your computer, and you're going to come to the SkySlope home screen, and you're going to click on DigiSign, digital signature. It's going to take you to the access page, okay? And so you know the advantage of using DigiSign is this: it's our integrated signature tool. So what that means is anything that you're sending out for signature is automatically uploading back here into your files. And we'll show where it shows up and that kind of stuff, but just anything that you send out and get signed is automatically going to upload back here, so you don't have to do the back and forth, okay? So this is meant to save you time of having to move documents from one system to another, okay? Great. So we're going to go through a scenario here. So I'm going to be representing a seller, and my longtime client, Robin Williams, has called me, you've probably heard of him, called me to let me know that he is finally ready to list his property, okay? Now we're going to click New Envelope. And we don't have a contract with him yet. He's just told us he's ready. So what we got to do is start getting ready to get this this listing agreement over to him for signature, okay? And we haven't created a property file yet, right? Because no contract. So what we're going to do in this case is click No Property, okay? That's going to bring us to the next screen where we can upload the documents, okay? So I'm going to go ahead. You can drag and drop. I'm going to just go click upload. It's going to pull up my downloads, and I'm going to upload the packet here. Now we've got the packet, okay? Now there's a couple of different options here that are interesting to note. The first is you can use a template. So, you know, if you're using a lot of the, like a lot of people I talk to that are using a lot of the same forms and packets over and over again, you can create a template so that those signature blocks are always there. Okay, and you would just come over here, click choose template. I'm going to use this demo template that I have created and click apply. You can also do it manually, going through the document, adding those blocks, and I'll show you how to do that. But obviously, creating a template and being able to systematize that is going to be hugely helpful and a big time saver. Okay, so now we're here, and there's two things we have to decide before we send this document out. we first have to decide, well, who are the recipients? Well, one of them is going to be me as the agent. The other is going to be Robin Williams, like we talked about. So I'm going to put his information here. He's pulling up from other times. Okay, great. And his role, he is the seller. Great. So you'll see he's here now and being added here as someone who's going to sign. Now, the second thing we're going to decide is, well, does there need to be an order of signing? Does the document need to come to me as the agent first or go to him first? Whatever that happens to be, you can click Add Signer Group, and then you'll just drag down and put them in signing second place. So in this case, it's going to come to me first, and I'm going to sign it. And once I sign it, it's going to go to Robin Williams to sign. Okay? So for the sake of example here, I'm just going to go ahead and move forward and show you what it will look like when it comes to him to sign. Okay. Okay. So this is the next part that I'm presented with, which is the actual document pane itself. Okay, and you'll see the template has already dropped in some blocks for me here. If I wanted to go through and add some, I would simply click on the type of block I needed from up here on the top. So whether that's a signature, initials, date signed, and click to where it is that it's going to be signed. So you see it comes up. Then you have the ability to say use this drop down to say who is the one that's signing or initialing there. Okay. For the sake of simplicity, we're going to say all the blocks are done, and we're going to send this out. Okay. So we're sending it out, listing update, and we're going to click send for signatures. Now we're going to click not sign later, but sign now, so you can see what it looks like for Robin when he's going to get into this document. Okay. So as soon as he clicks that link that was sent out via email, it's going to bring up this box for him. Okay. Now this box is allowing him to select a style, but more importantly, agree that it's legally binding. So once he's done so, he's going to click I agree, and he's going to start the signing process. Of course, you could scroll through the document and find all the places that you have to sign, but the easiest way is to just click start. And it'll automatically scroll down to the places that are required. Okay, in this case I just have a couple that will do. Here's a signature. And now we click submit. So once this is complete, everyone that's involved receives an email with the completed document. All right? So what's happened? We've sent out the document. We now have a ratified listing contract. It is now time to go to step 2, but before we do, are there any questions? Is everybody still with me?
We have a question here.
Okay.
So here we usually get, there I am. Here we usually get signatures from the client first, then we sign, and then the broker signs, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So the way, because it's in that order, we usually like the client to sign first and certify that the client has signed so that we can then go in and sign. I'm having a hard time, because I've used the system, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how to do that or get notifications and signed by one party or two parties or whatever.
Sure. Let's go back and I'll show you really quickly how you could do that. So we're just going to go through this. Okay. And I'll upload just an example so I can take you to the part. So the crucial part is going to be this signing group part. Okay. So what you'll do is you'll add recipients. Okay. So in this case, the person that's selling, as an example, and you were saying the person that's selling needs to sign first?
Correct.
Okay. So you'll add signer groups. So in the case of you needing to sign second as the realtor, you're going to drag yourself down into who signs second. Okay. And if you have a further one, you're going to add someone over here as a recipient, say the broker or whoever that happens to be, and they can sign third. And what's going to happen is is once the seller signs, then it's going to come to you to sign, and then it's going to go to the third party to sign. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
We have another
Right.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
I've been using it, and the only issue I've had is with the check boxes. So I get it seems that the recipient does not have to check the box. So I actually get the form back and it says completed and it's done. But then I find out none of the boxes were checked. And my particular client said it would not let her check the boxes.
Got you. So when you go through, let me just show an example here. We're going to keep Robin on this one this time, okay? But I got to get rid of the third sign just to show you. Okay. So check boxes. Let's do an example. So likely what happened was you had it assigned for a different group. So you want to make sure that you use this drop down right here and you select, if it's the case that the seller is the one that's having to use the checkbox, make sure that they're selected there, because if they aren't, they're not going to be able to check the actual box. That should solve the problem.
I only had one person the first time I used it, so wouldn't it have defaulted to the only person I had in?
Any other questions?
I only had one client in because I just started using it. Wouldn't it have defaulted to her? I only had the buyer.
So it usually will default to whoever's first in the group. So just make sure to double check that they're selected on that. You'll see that when you go through and create these boxes, like let's say I was placing some check boxes for Robin, in this case the seller or the buyer, whoever it happens to be. If I go and I then place a signature block later on, you'll see that it defaults to him, right? But you're going to want to make sure that you keep an eye on that, because if you mint it for yourself, you're going to have to go here and select that. So just realize whoever was selected the last time you went through and created something, you're going to have to make sure that it's the proper person. Okay. Other questions?
One more question.
Okay.
Last time try to use the things. I want to ask you, how can, just in case you put name on those send out list, right? The broker, your seller's name on there, but if just in case you put two, I don't know how to take out. I try so hard to take out the name on the list. And one more question is why I send out same time for few people. Some people like Janina receive my email, but my seller was signed successful. Why send out email same time? Some people receive, some people don't.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing.
So she said the client that she sent them to did not get notification, didn't get to the client.
Didn't get the email. Okay, so what I would recommend when that happens, it doesn't happen all the time, but depending on their email settings, it's possible that it could go to a spam folder just because it's coming from the SkySlope no reply. So depending on how they have it set up, just like with any sort of digital signature tool, it might end up in the spam folder. So just have them, if that's the case, have them double check there. Okay. Okay. So we are going to move on to step 2, which is turning in the documents. We're going to go back to the home page, as you'll remember, by clicking on the logo, okay? And I want to show you where the when you send something through DigiSign, where it ends up, okay? So it comes to this area, working documents, okay? So you'll see we have it here, and it's date stamped and time stamped. We've got the listing packet, DigiSign, okay? When it comes to working documents, this is your personal docs tab. This is your personal docs area. So think of it as your own personal Dropbox or Google Drive, okay? This is an in limbo storage area. And anything that gets signed is going to end up here. You can also upload documents if you weren't putting them through a digital signature into here, okay? You can store and create these subfolders, by buyer or seller, whoever you're working with. That's a best practice, definitely. But now that we have the ratified listing contract, we're going to move on to step 2, which means it's time to create a file for the new listing for the property and turn in the documents to the broker, okay? So we're gonna move over to here and I'm gonna show you how we do that, okay? So we're gonna click Create Listing. And it's gonna pull up. Now, you're introduced to and greeted by Sky. Sky is our helper, our listing assistant that can pull data from the MLS, okay, saving you having time to have to enter the information multiple times. So if you've already entered it into the MLS, it's going to pull it up, okay? We're going to go ahead and just enter here, and you'll see that it starts to pull up addresses. This is being powered by Google Maps, so if it exists on Google Maps, you'll be able to find the address, okay? So we're going to go with 172 Tivoli Way here in Sacramento and click Let's Go. Now keep in mind, this is a demonstration account. So some of these questions may be different when you actually get your login, right? You may not, have these types and whatnot, and that's okay. Just realize that a lot of this will be customized and will be what you're used to having to answer questions on, okay? So don't worry about that. This is just an example. We're going to say this is residential, list the property price being listed for. You can choose commission here by percentage. You can also switch to a flat rate and just enter a number. For those of you that are co-listing this, you can also add a co-listing agent right here, okay? And you can do that after the fact. Don't feel like you have to do it at this juncture if you don't want to. You're going to click Next Question. Choose the listing date. I'm just going to select some random dates here. What year the property was built. Again, these questions will vary just depending on what you want to ask. And the source of the deal, we are working hard, so it's prospecting. And then who's selling the property itself. Okay. You could add an additional seller. So if Robin's wife was selling this with him, you could add it at this point as well. We're going to click Next Question. This is a California feature that you won't be seeing, so I'm just going to move forward. And here we go. So does everything look accurate? Does everything look right? Sky's asking us just to verify that everything looks good. Now, when we do click Create My Listing, the property file is now created. How about that? So we are in it now. This is the property file. Okay. And we're brought to this first tab, Checklist. This is a color-coded tab where you will be turning in the documents that are required to get the escrow closed, okay? Now, think of this as that checklist you've always used with, whether it was in a manila folder or on a document somewhere. So these may not be what you're used to seeing, but it will be when it's customized for your brokerage, okay? So you'll be seeing the normal documentation you're used to. And it's color-coded, so the red means it's something that's required for the file. The light blue means it's if applicable. And as you turn in documents and it goes into review and that type of thing, the colors are going to change, okay? So it's going to make it really easy for you at a glance to know what you have to do, okay? So let's talk about how you can actually turn in the documents, okay? Now, when you assign and turn in documents, they'll actually attach here to the checklist. But there's a couple of different ways that we can do that. Okay, so you'll remember, I'm going to show you the sort of longer version first, and then the one that agents like the most second, okay? Okay, so the first version of this, we're going to, as you remember, when we got that listing packet signed from Robin, it went to the working documents area, right? So we're going to go in, and we'll know it's the right one because it's going to be on top, and it just happened, okay? 10-1. So you're going to check this box next to it. And when you do, this button's going to pop up. A lot of people forget to check the box. Make sure you check the box because look up here, when I uncheck the box, it disappears and it's not there. So check the box and you're going to click the assign button, okay? Now it's saying to you, it's got red, but nothing to be scared about. It's saying assign document listing packet to one of the properties below. So, well, we just created this one, 172 Tivoli Way, so we're going to click assign. Okay. Now you'll notice it's no longer in the working documents section, okay? Which is great. And we're going to go straight in to our property file here, the 172 Tivoli Way, okay? And you'll notice that back at our checklist, even though we assigned that document that Robin had signed, nothing's been turned in. And it's supposed to be that way because we're never going to turn the documents in for you. We're gonna make sure that you're ready to turn those in and that they're ready for the broker to review. So anytime you send a document to a property file, it shows up in your Documents tab right here. So you'll notice if we click over, we've now got it here. This was what I would call the more manual version of assigning a document to the listing, okay? So you can do it fairly simple though, just a few steps. There's another way that I want to talk to you about because it is a scenario I think that will strike close to home, okay? So let's say you didn't use DigiSign to get the document signed to start with, okay? You met your client at their home or at Starbucks and signed with pen and paper, or maybe you just left some documents with them at their house and they signed them and scanned them and emailed them to you, okay? So whenever a property file is created, there is an email that's associated with it, okay? And this is great because what it means is you can email documents into this email and it will show up in the documents section, okay? So let me show you how that works. You'll simply copy the email, and we're going to go over here. Robin has sent me this saying, hey, Andrew, I'm excited to list another property with you. Here are the contracts you left with me to sign. You'll see it has an attachment, okay? What I'm going to do, because now I'm presented with this problem of I have it in my email, but how do I get it in a SkySlope? What I'm going to do is I'm simply going to forward to that email that we copied earlier. So you can see it here. The Tivoli Way email, and click send. And that's all it takes, and it's going to now live in that documents tab in the property file. So it's there now. Another thing that I'll mention so that you can make good use of this, I know people are very used to having to, when the communication is happening back and forth between you and your client, having to save emails to PDFs or that type of a thing. If you simply CC that email that we just used to your client communication, it will automatically go into SkySlope into the log area, which we'll look at in a minute, keeping track of all that for you so you don't have to, okay? Super, super helpful and should save you a ton of time. So we're back here. Let's go ahead and refresh this to see if it came in, and you'll notice it did from the email, okay? I talked about the log a second ago. Before we show how you turn documents in, I just want to show you what that looks like because you can see the email that we just used. So we've got the log tab here. And this is cool because it literally keeps track of everything that happens with the file, pricing changes or any of those types of things. Someone uploading a document, etc. You'll see we have one here, email received. Okay? If we click into that, I was telling you don't got to save those PDFs. There it is. So the communication is here back and forth now, which is super helpful. Okay? Okay. I'm going to go back to the Documents tab, and we're going to talk about what is on everybody's mind, I'm sure, at this point, which is how do I actually turn the documents in now to the checklist. So I'll show you that, and we have a really handy feature to help you with that, because we realize that a lot of times maybe you're using a packet. We talked about using the same packets over and over again. Maybe you're using a packet that has a bunch of pages in it, and some of those pages apply to individual checklist items. Well, how do you break it apart and make it easy? Well, we've got a tool just for that, and we're going to look at that now. So what you'll do is, if you're ready to turn in and split it up, you're going to click Split. And this is going to pull up, okay? So we have a couple of different things here. Let me walk you through it. We've got a document viewer that you can scroll through here, and an area over here where we can choose page ranges. Okay, so let me give you the scenario. It looks like pages 1 to 8 of the one that I'm using are the listing agreement. So I'm going to start typing that in over here, and you'll see that it starts to pull checklist items up. You see that? I want this to be the standard listing contract, and it's pages 1 to 8. And then it looks like we've also got the agency agreement here from pages 9 to 11. So I'll select 9 to 11. I'll start typing, and we'll see one of the checklist items come up here, and I'll click on that. And then finally, we've got the seller advisory, and I'm going to choose the ranges 12 to 18. So that's our entire document and the 3 checklist items that it has documents for, okay? So what we're telling the system is split pages 1 to 8 for the standard listing contract and turn it in. Split pages 11 to 11 or 9 to 11 to as the agency agreement and turn it in, okay? So we're saying turn these things in at those ranges, and then all you have to do at this point is click split and assign. Comes up, you know that it worked because it says you split 3 docs and 3 were attached to your checklist. So now let's go to the checklist and see what's changed. Ooh, different colors. So the different colors here are representing that it's now been attached to the checklist. And the best part about it is you don't have to, as an agent, you don't have to send an email or a text to the person that's reviewing the file. They're receiving these documents and the notification automatically, okay? So again, this checklist, just think of it as compliance. It's where you're turning in the documents that need to be reviewed so the file can be complete. One of the other things, if you know there's going to be a question that comes up, is you can leave a comment here, okay? So you just type it, click save, and they'll automatically have that comment when they go through the review process, all right? So once it's been reviewed, and this is something that people love as well, agents love this because it's like, okay, I need to get paid on this. What's the status? What do you need from me? How are we doing? Checking in, right? Instead of you having to hunt that down, once it's been reviewed, your reviewer sends, and the system really sends an updated email to you, okay? And I'm going to show you an example. It looks like this. It's saying for this property address, the checklist has been reviewed, and it's color-coded as well. So, oh yeah, look, the listing agreement and the seller advisory, those are complete, everything looks good. Oh, there's something wrong in this purple with the agency disclosure. What's going on here? Missing signatures, page 3. Okay, so you now know, okay, I got to get a signature. I'm missing something there. I got to resend it to them, have them do it, and reattach it to the checklist, okay? I'm going to pause here. Are there questions that we can go through? Because this is literally the second step, and you know, we can go through any questions you have about this. We'll look at the buyer side in a moment, but anything you have at this point, I'm happy to answer or address.
Doesn't look like there's any questions.
Okay. So moving forward, you know, we've covered steps 1 and 2, how you're working with listing files, right? Working with a transaction or a buyer file is very similar, okay? And you know, when you're working with a buyer, you aren't going to create a transaction file until you have your buyer's offer, right? So we talked about storing the, oh, sorry guys, I got something popping up here. Still hear me? It looked like the Zoom was trying to kick me out. Okay. So step one is the same, okay? So you're gonna use your forms, you're gonna get those complete, right? And you're gonna get them signed. And then from there, you're using working documents, okay? So as you'll remember, that's over here. We talked about the best practice, so storing these documents, right, where you know, you can create a folder with your buyer's name and store the rep agreement and all those things here. And then once the offer is accepted, you have a contract, so you actually move to stage 2 to turn in the documents, okay? So all that to say, I'm not going to create another file because it's almost identical, but we will look at an existing transaction, okay? And we have one here, 330 El Camino Avenue, that's pending. And you'll notice that a lot of this is the same. So when we originally created the property file, remember we created the transaction information, right? So the sales price and if there's a co-listing agent and me as the agent. The contacts, you know, keeping this up to date with the seller and the purchaser, right? The new tab really is everyone's favorite, and that's the commission tab. Okay, this is how you get paid, and you can use this additional commission breakdown details, okay, to give notes to how you're getting paid. Okay, so maybe some of it's going to charitable cause, or some of it's going to repairs, or whatever it happens to be. Anything you want the staff to know about how you're getting paid on this, you can put here and they'll see it, okay? So that's a tab to be aware of. Splits shows team split, if that applies, okay? And that's really, you know, the main difference. You'll remember the checklist. It is the same as we saw in the listing. So you've got your required in red, if applicable is light blue. You could do some different things here, but a lot the same. And again, just to keep in mind, checklist equals compliance, so items for review. It's not necessarily all the documents that are related, but it's the ones you want reviewed. Documents tab is the same. So all of your documents are coming here, you're assigning them here. A couple of things to cover. You can email documents out directly from here, or you can send them out via DigiSign if you need to. Say tax season's coming up or file is missing, you could just check the box next to the one that you want to email out and click the email button. And then from there, it'll ask you where you want to email it, and it will send it out to the client for you, okay? One of the things that I like the most, and we've only got one file here, but let's imagine we had a couple different ones. You can check the boxes of the ones that you want to create a bundle of. People love this feature, and click Share Docs. What this allows you to do, we'll just name it Docs, is create a link that anyone, regardless of if they have a SkySlope account or not, can go see and download documents from. So we're going to copy the link, and I'll show you what that looks like. So you could give this link to your client, and they could plug it in, and you'll see, this obviously would have your brokerage logo, and they'll see, oh, for the property address this, presented by me as the agent, you know, the company, my email, and they can download those documents from this handy little web page, okay? This is a great feature for keeping people in the loop, or saying, hey, now you've got access to these files at just the click of a button, okay? The log tab we already covered, but just know that anything that's happening within the file can always be referenced, okay? And again, emails that you're sending into the property file are going to show up here. So, you know, all of that's being tracked in the back end and making sure that everything's good for you. The last area that I want to talk about on the file itself is the Tasks tab. You can choose to use this or not. Some people have their own to-do list system, and they say, well, I'm fine with what I have, and that's okay. But you have the ability to set tasks here, okay? These tasks will be on the property file, and it can remind you at certain events along the way. So here would be an example. At the closing date, 2 days before, I want to remember to send closing gift, okay? So now you have that reminder on the file 2 days before the closing date. You know, it's going to remind you to send a closing gift, okay? This could be used for all sorts of different events, you know, listing date, creation date, just little notes for yourself to keep you on track, okay? So that's it as far as the files themselves, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me here. We are through most of it. I want to pause here for questions. There's a few other things that I'll show you, and then we can wrap up with further questions. I just have a few tips and tricks that I want to go through as we move towards open Q&A.
Andrew, when you use the share bundle paperwork link, is that an expirable link, or how is it timed out? How long is it good for?
It will just continue to exist, yes. So it doesn't time out.
Is that forever, Andrew?
I would have to look. I think when the file gets archived on the admin end that it might come down. I can double check on that for you guys because I'm not sure off the top of my head. But as long as it's open and being worked on, it's going to be available. Yeah.
When do the files archive?
What's that?
When do the files archive?
So the archiving happens as part of like when the escrow is closed.
Thank you.
So once that whole process happens, and there's an area here, the Access Archives, where you can access those. But once that process happens, I'm not sure if it still remains. I can double check on that.
A quick question. Earlier you showed how you can forward a document into the back office or into your portal. Do you have to, when it's in your email, do you have to actually click document, or you just forward the email and it automatically saves the document?
Great question. As long as the document is an attachment on the email, all you have to do is forward that email. So it's automatically going to take the attachments and upload those for you. Now, if you have a situation where someone has somehow copy and pasted an image of it or something in the file, that's not going to come through. But as long as it's an attachment, you're in the clear.
I think that's it on questions.
Okay. A couple of other areas. So we talked about managed transactions. So let me just give you a further, and we talked about archive files briefly. So let me just show what this looks like really quick. So you have your pending ones up here. You have the ability to cancel a transaction. When you do this as an agent, it then goes to your admin or reviewer team for review, and they can cancel it permanently. So if you were to click cancel transaction on this one, it would now be in this section, the cancel transactions pending approval. And there's two ways on closing day for what's going to happen with your transaction. Okay, so there's straight to the archives or to file jail. So which is essentially what we call closed transactions waiting to be archived. So what happens sometimes is the escrow closes, but there's still some incomplete items. In this case, you're going to want to keep an eye on this area because it means there's still something you might have to get for the file to be 100% compliant, right? So the escrow is actually closed. The reviewing team has hit that button and closed the escrow, but they're still saying we need to complete these two items before we can archive the file, okay? Now, when everything's complete and as it should be, the file gets archived, and this, for you, is a bit like a trophy case. This Access Archives button, if you click on that, you'll have access to your archive files, okay? So think of it as a virtual filing cabinet of all your closed deals. And, you can go into the file itself. If you needed to download some of the documentation, you could download all the documents or just the checklist documents and have those whenever you need them, Okay. So we have talked about a lot today, and by no means, no stretch of the imagination, can you remember all of this, or should you? I think the big point here is feel free to start playing around with this and getting your hands dirty and coming up against things. And when you have questions, don't forget about our support team, because they're here to help you 24/7, 365. And just to recap, the way you get to them is to hit this little headset up here, and that launches the portal for you. And from there, you can either reach out to a person or look at tutorials, okay? So this is the most important thing in my mind, because we're here to support you, and you're not alone in this transition, and we'll be here every step of the way. All right, so that is everything. Let's go through any outstanding questions or anything we should revisit and look at again.
The question was, how long do the archives keep?
I believe it is 7 years.
There's an app for this as well?
There is an app. I should have mentioned that. This is, we've got an iPhone and an Android app that you can use so that if you're on the go, you can just jump on your phone and use it from there. There is, yes.
All right, so we're over time, Andrew. I thank you very, very much. Great information.
Sure. Thank you all. Yeah, this was great. Again, really looking forward to getting you guys up and running, and hope everyone has a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay, hey, just before we end here and give away these prizes, two things. Number one, if you've got something already in Simon set to close, as long as it closes this month, you can still close it out in Simon. Anything closing after November 1st needs to be in the new system. Okay? Copy paste, move it. If you need help, just let one of the admins know and they'll help you get it over.
I wanted to ask you, there's a section in there, working documents. Are we gonna upload just signature form, like the notice of buyers? Like
I'm working on it, yeah. I'll work on like the commission disbursement and the
Yeah.
rental invoice, things like that in the office. It won't be personal, it'll be office.
Right, but then we'll be under working documents, so we can take it from there and use it in.
Yeah, the problem is trying to make sure I have them fillable before I'm even in.
Okay.
So, okay.
So she is working on that. Okay, and so then number two, since we ran a little bit long, we do have Simplest here as well. They still here? Okay, I think they're still here. If they're still here, they will stay around for a little bit, and they just want to demo you the one section. They're going to kind of do one section a week here for a little bit, but it is drip campaigns. They want to show you how to use drip campaigns on your website. So if you want to stay around, they'll be here. If not, we're going to record it, and it'll be uploaded in the agent's signature as well, okay? There you go.
Real quick, sure.
Okay, guys, stand up. It's me again, you guys. Only now Michelle, Jaylene, and Tim are going to join us. First of all, I'm going to pick the lucky winner of the Belvedere vodka, but I'll hand it over to Michelle to talk about Thursday. Start from there.
Real quick.
Okay,
Real
so
quick.
on October 10th at the Green Valley office, we are having a pool tournament and silent auction to benefit Making Strides Against Breast Cancer and Signature Strong. And we have a lot of great prizes, and Tim is in charge of sign up for the pool tournament and silent auction. We have giveaways like Golden Knights tickets. We have 5 for sale signs donated by House of Signs and a bunch of other things.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thanks to
So-
Michelle
Really good
and
stuff, you
Katie.
guys.
They're working crazy. Hurry. Okay, so that's it.
Yeah,
Thursday
I know.
night, Green Valley. Talk to Tim. Tim, give your phone number for the pool tournament, billiards tournament.
702-245-8569. We're gonna have 2 teams from each office, and our citywide family is gonna have 2 teams as well.
Say the number again.
702-245-8569.
They'll put it in the Facebook group.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be on our.
Bring your
we're gonna-
skills, bring your
Say
plans.
that.
Okay, here's the winner. Mark.